The unclean hands doctrine is a powerful legal defense that can completely bar a plaintiff from obtaining relief in court. When successfully invoked, it essentially tells the court that the plaintiff should not receive help because they themselves have acted unethically in relation to the dispute. This affirmative defense operates on a fundamental principle of fairness. Those who seek justice must come to court with clean hands. But what exactly constitutes unclean hands, and how can it be used effectively in litigation? The unclean hands doctrine, sometimes called the clean hands or dirty hands doctrine, prevents plaintiffs from seeking equitable relief if they engaged in unethical or wrongful conduct related to the matter at issue. For this defense to work, the misconduct must be directly connected to the subject of the lawsuit itself, not unrelated bad behavior. To successfully assert unclean hands, a defendant must prove several key elements. First, the plaintiff's misconduct must be directly related to the claims they're making. Second, the conduct must involve fraud, deceit, or another act that violates principles of fairness. Third, the wrongdoing must have either given the plaintiff an unfair advantage or harmed the defendant. Fourth, the doctrine applies only to cases involving equitable relief, not purely monetary damages. Finally, the plaintiff must have knowingly engaged in this wrongful behavior, not merely made a mistake. It's important to understand that the unclean hands defense is available only for claims seeking equitable remedies. These are remedies where the court requires someone to perform a specific action rather than simply pay money. Common examples include injunctions and specific performance of contractual obligations. Courts don't automatically accept unclean hands defenses. They will reject this defense in several situations: when the plaintiff's wrongdoing is minor or unintentional, when the misconduct didn't directly impact the defendant, when public interest considerations outweigh the misconduct, or when the defendant has also engaged in similar unethical conduct. Proving unclean hands varies by jurisdiction, but generally doesn't require that the plaintiff engaged in identical wrongful conduct as the defendant. The focus is on specific behavior related to the dispute, not general moral character. For example, in a breach of contract case, if the plaintiff acted in bad faith when drafting the contract, the defendant might successfully raise the unclean hands defense. Real-world examples help illustrate how this defense works in practice. In contract law, courts have dismissed cases where plaintiffs misrepresented financial statements when entering agreements. In family law, spouses who hide assets during divorce proceedings have been denied favorable property divisions. Intellectual property cases have been thrown out when plaintiffs obtained patents through fraudulent means. And in real estate disputes, landlords attempting to evict tenants have been blocked when they themselves violated lease terms. When filing a motion to dismiss based on unclean hands, defendants must carefully outline specific allegations of the plaintiff's misconduct and demonstrate its direct connection to the case. Supporting evidence is crucial, as are citations to relevant legal precedents. Judges will assess whether the misconduct is substantial enough to warrant dismissal or if the case should proceed. Given the complexity of this defense, legal representation is highly recommended. An experienced attorney can help determine if the unclean hands defense is applicable to your situation, gather necessary evidence, and navigate the court system effectively. The unclean hands doctrine serves as a reminder that our legal system values fairness and ethical conduct. While powerful, it's not a blanket remedy that applies in all situations. It requires careful analysis of the specific facts, the nature of the relief sought, and the relationship between the plaintiff's conduct and their claims. When properly applied, it ensures that those who seek justice must themselves have acted justly.